Will silver and gold save you during times of financial crisis? We've got a growing level of evidence pointing towards the fact that we might just be in trouble. As a silver and gold investor, you're going to be shocked at what you learn today. And what evidence do we have in the past that financial crises do occur? And how did silver and gold perform during those periods? We need look no further than the great financial crisis in '08, the tech bubble in the year 2000, and the list goes on and on. Would we not be naive to think that it could never happen again? But Ted, I have a pressing question for you. This normalcy bias, everybody thinks that it'll never happen again. Are we in a period where we'll never have another financial crisis?
Well, good morning, Ron. I'd like to thank you for having me on your station yet again. You have a fabulous audience, and I've connected with every one of you all that have connected with us. So if you've left an email or a comment, or I don't know if you got my phone calls or whatever, but we've been back in touch with everyone. So far, there's been over 89,000 views since we got started last Friday. And right now, I think we're up to 1,200 comments, and the number is growing. So actually, we are giving out some great information. But to get back to your question, if you're holding real money that's been God's money for thousands of years, I mean, as we talked about before, Judas was paid 30 pieces of silver to drop the dime on Jesus, right? That silver's still around. It doesn't disintegrate. As a matter of fact, when silver goes to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean or Pacific Ocean or where it happens to be, you may think it disintegrates like stock certificates or notes or cash or whatever else. No. There are companies that are situated on the stock exchange that actually have investors to go after certain sunken treasures. Now, why would they go after sunken treasures with silver and gold? Geez, I don't know. Can you? Maybe it's because it's real money. But we had a lot of fun things to get into today. One of the things I just shared with Ron is something I've never done before, is to share my personal currency collection. And I think that
you want me to pull that up, Ted? You want me to pull that up?
Why don't we take a look at that? Because this will answer your question definitively. Okay.
So the question being, are we possibly, just possibly, going to have another period of financial turmoil during our lifetimes? Maybe during the next year, right? That's what we're looking at here, and how silver and gold have fared during those times. So I am going to pull up Ted's currency picture. There it is, Ted, on the screen right now.
Okay. So folks, if we could take a look at a couple of these things down in the center, okay, you see the 10 million right mark there. Okay. Underneath of that, what I did was I put one note on top of the other that was blank on the back. The reason being is they ran out of ink. They were printing so much of this. So what I wanted to show you is all the different currency notes that are, not all of them, but that series of currency notes that have been used throughout the world. Now, if we can go, Ron, real quick over to Bank for International Settlements, because I'd like you to know who issues this and who actually got the silver for these notes that you are now holding that are worthless. Okay. So if we go over to the International Bank for International Settlements, we talked about this before, BIS.org. I'll show you who actually creates these currency notes.
I'm working on it behind the scenes here, Ted.
Well, that's all right. But what you'll see is these are real. Somebody had these things, they folded them up, they carried them in their back pocket, and they used it to buy bread or food or pay rent or pay their taxes or whatever else. So if that is in fact immutable wealth, what am I doing with it? Why would I invest in this? So what I'm trying to tell you is if we had laid down, say, a dime, a silver dime, or any piece of silver on any one of those currency notes, those people now would have something actually worth money if they'd have been holding the money. So what are we going to do here is I'd like you to follow along. Ron, is there any way these people can download BIS.org on their computer so they can pull this up themselves?
Well, no, they will. We'll just have them follow along with us, Ted. Okay. They're on the live stream here. So so we're at Central Bank Hub. Is that where you want me to go?
Absolutely right. We're going to go to Central Bank Hub on the front page, and then go to Central Bank and Monetary Authority websites, the second line down.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what do we do? If we live stream right now, why don't we ask somebody that's live to give us a letter of the alphabet that doesn't begin with the exception of the letter U? Somebody on there real quick, give us a letter. What do we got? D?
D. All right. Let's go to D. D. There is D.
Oh, that only has two central banks. Well, wouldn't it be nice to own the central bank in Denmark Or how about Dominican Republic? I hear it's warm down there right now. Is it, folks? Anybody tuning in from the Dominican Republic? Or actually, why don't you go on? Because what I'm understanding is 44% of the people watching this are outside the United States. So if you're outside the United States, this website will work for you too, at bis.org. Find out who owns your currency, who owns your bank. And it's the Bank for International Settlements. So if we scroll down some more, let's go past E. Stop right there a minute. What we're looking at here are countries, folks. These are countries in which the BIS provides the mandatory currency in each and every one of these countries. Right now, they're all fiat. They're all ready to go away exactly at the same time. And when they do, what do you think happens to the bis.org, Ron?
It probably goes away, collapses as well. I mean, we're looking at this, I think, on a big picture level, Ted.
Exactly.
This, and we always pull up Exeter's pyramid, but this fact that the whole monetary system, everything outside of silver and gold has basically become very synthetic at this point, man-made, kind of like in the cars, and like fake leather in a car, and as we face, you know, a potential for just even parts of that system falling apart, that we could see a wave of new money coming into the silver and gold sector. Is that safe to say?
New money? How about new demand for money? Okay, which is going to be satisfied in currency notes. I mean, come on, folks. Let's be real here. Okay, 99.5% of you don't have any money at all. Okay, that's the fact. A lot of you are holding the script of a failing government, which is the United States government. I mean, I'm hearing all kinds of things happening in terms of bad things with regards to the government. How much confidence do you think Joe Biden instilled in the public the other night? So the respect for the dollar is dying. The usage of the dollar is dying. So let me tell you a story about what just happened over in China. So in China, the people that might be coming to visit the United States, what's happened is the bank over there in China are handing out counterfeit U.S. notes, counterfeit $100 U.S. notes. They're giving them to the Chinese people to bring back to the United States and use as currency, but it's being caught. So let me see. The dollar is being counterfeited. The dollar isn't worth anything. What you're holding could or may not be a real authentic printed note from the Bank for International Settlements. But one thing is for sure is that the pendulum always swings in both directions. Okay. So we are all fiat right now. All right. And what's going to happen is, bam, that string is going to snap and the pendulum is going to go woof right around and stick to the other side for quite a while, because fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Now, we are the only country on the face of the planet here in the United States whose generations have never seen a currency reset. So if you go back and take a look at those notes, you'll see that some of these countries have had numerous iterations of currency in their country. My question is, when the new currency notes come out, are you redeemed for the old currency notes? And why not, at this point in time, forget about the script? Come on, folks, let's get back to basics. Keep it simple and stupid. Get the money of your country. The money of your country, if you're in the United States of America, are American silver eagles, okay? And pre-65 dimes, quarters, and half dollars. So against the dimes, silver is the best place to be right now, folks. I'm 65. I've started and sold 3 businesses. I don't make mistakes. And 65 years of age, I mean, you don't know me well. I would suggest you do a little bit of research. Look at this. This is one of the last years of just one of the certificates that I had. Can you see that okay? There we go.
Yep.
There we go. Okay. So I sold the practice in 2010. All right. So I was closing it down at that time. But anyway, it shows you who I am. And originally we're thinking, we ought to keep my quiet, forget about, forget about Ted's concern about somebody knocking on his door and putting a gun to his head. Why in the world would you do that? That's crazy. I have more information that'll help you than death will hurt you. Good grief.
Yeah. So, Ted, I want to throw something in as we're talking about this potential, right? For none of us has a crystal ball. Potential. There seems to be overwhelming evidence if we look at this through 2 perspectives. Number one, historically, which you showed with that big collection of money, it doesn't take much of a study of history to see that over history, currencies have collapsed, right? Especially fiat-based currencies have collapsed. Now, if we zoom in on right now, okay, well, let me back up. And we know that when those historic currency crisis had erupted, whether it was in England and France and Spain and the Roman Empire, that silver and gold held their value. Silver and gold held their value. So if we fast forward to today, so we know that history tells us. Now, we know also that today we all suffer from normalcy bias. Some people call it recency bias. Like me, I'm 54 years old. My parents are 80. Even them, like they just have never, the bank has always been a safe place to put the money, right? And they're 80 years old. I'm 54. The bank has always been a safe place to put my money. But if we look at what's going on right now, evidence of what's going on right now, you've got some things you want to talk about that I think are going to be very interesting to our viewer, some evidence as to what's going on. And then when you're done with that, I want to talk about a modern day example right now in Egypt. But can I pull up your slides again?
Sure. Yeah.
There's your money collection. Bear with me.
No, hold it. We got to be real. I'm sorry, but we got to call that fiat currency, failed fiat currency. Okay. Yeah. That is not money. Money is the eagles. Okay. As we talked about. All right. Currency, when it can be exchanged back for the money, okay, is in fact called currency at that point. When you can no longer take the currency notes back to the bank and get the silver back that you gave them in exchange for the currency notes, then the note has become fiat currency. And then when they create so much of this, as they did back in the Weimar Republic, that they ran out of ink and then they ran out of paper. I hope you heard that. This is everything I'm telling you is true, folks. Research it on your own. Okay. But once they ran out of paper and they ran out of ink, you know what they did next? They digitized it all. How much does it cost to create a digit on a computer screen? Actually, a digit, isn't it recommended? Actually, aren't digits represented by electrons? And isn't an electron denoted by a negative sign? I mean, gosh, the God's out there. He's telling you what's going on, folks. We're trying to save you. This will save you, okay? And as far as all this tax talk, geez, should we let somebody else hold our money so we keep the other 35% of the taxes that we would have had to give up to hold it ourselves? Well, my suggestion is this. What is the history of taxes? Do you know during the Reagan administration, the highest marginal tax rate was 90%? I kid you not. And then they had something on top of that called an alternative minimum tax. Then they had something on top of that called an excise tax. And we spoke about that a little while ago when I was doing the estate planning, that some of the leftover IRAs was whacked with 106% taxes. You owed more on the IRA than the IRA would be worth. So things are changing, okay? What will be in your hand after all this stuff melts down, as we've been talking about with Extra's Pyramid, is this. Can you tell me what the risk is? If you're holding this yourself, there's no counterparty risk. I can wake up in the middle of the night and put my hand around this thing and shake it and wake Margaret Ann up and say, hi. You know what I mean?
All right. So Ted, do me a favor. Hold that tube of 20 American Sea. Hold it right up close to the camera. So we're going to ask our viewers, would you rather have that or this? Oh, hold on, Ted. I pulled up the picture.
Oh, yeah. Good idea, Ron.
Would you rather? Because how much is everything on that table worth outside of collector's value? It's
you mean what did I pay for it? Is that what the question is?
Yeah.
Because it's really only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it, right?
Right.
Okay, so here's your real money. Okay.
Yeah.
There's your real money. You know how much I paid for all those currency notes? Zero. Because we have helped so many people for so many years. Some of these notes are gifts from people. Some of them are gifts from coin stop owners, because we don't make any money on anything. I'm not marking anything up because I want you to have as much silver as you possibly can. Mm-hmm. If you have $31 in your pocket, go out and get an eagle. And if somebody's going to charge you 7% to move your $100,000 or $200,000 over, 200,000 times 7% is $14,000. That gets you almost an entire monster box. Yeah. Can we pull up that chart that I sent over to you earlier today? Because a couple of people are wondering just how much silver do I have to be in the game? And what I'd like to do is show you this. Ron, do you remember that chart that was sent
Yeah,
over with how many ounces of
I'm on
silver?
it. I'm on it, Ted. Hold on. Is this what
I
you're
know you
after?
are. You're a good man. You're a good man. So folks, daggone it, get a copy of this. If you don't get a copy of this, call me or email me,
I mean,
ted@tedspeaks.net, or get a hold of Ron. You got to have this. Everybody in our group that is stacking silver has this, and they're all looking to how much more do I need to get to the next level. Okay. Now, some people are up to like over 100 monster boxes, and some people are just sort of getting started. I can tell you one of the guys in our group, he's a spectacular guy. He's a home improvement contractor, single guy. He started talking to me about 10 years ago, and he saw the light, and he sold his house. He sold his house. He had 3 houses prior, took all the equity from the third house, and now he's renting what's called a frog, a finished room over garage. I kid you not. His name is Dave. All right. And what he's doing is he's stacking as hard as he can. And every time he comes up with another $600-700, he goes out and buys another tube. All right. So those tubes add up the ounces add up to tubes. The tubes add up to monster boxes. There's 25 tubes in a monster box. The monster boxes add up to generational wealth. Yeah. Folks, if you can come out of this depression, recession, whatever you want to call it right now, with assets, real assets you can hold in your hand, you will have generational wealth, because 99.5% of the other people out there have nothing. So when all their wealth melts down into your hand, they're going to be crying the blues, and you're going to be walking away clicking your heels. But I'm not going to feel bad about it, because I already told you about this stuff. So Ron has just put up something called snowball derivatives. Okay. That's where we are right now. And the difference between a snowball derivative and a debt avalanche is when you have a whole bunch of credit cards and you're making a minimum payment, and you try to take any extra money at the end of each month to pay down the principal. However, when things get real bad, what happens is the investors out there, they put these bad credit card debts and everything into what's called a derivative. Okay. And those derivatives trade within a certain range of each other. But once they trade outside that range, that's when the green arrows go to red, and you wind up with, what is a very, very large snowball called? I mean, it's not an avalanche, because that would be the side of a mountain coming down. But this is a new economic phenomenon that you will be hearing shortly about what the heck it is, and what the heck it was and what it did. I'm telling you what it is before it does, and what it's going to affect before it does. Okay. It's going to affect the stock market. Okay. So let's go back to that other slide there, Ron, and let me explain the difference between snowball derivatives and a debt avalanche. And I'll show you on 2 different sides. That slide number was
this one here. Here it is. It's up. It's up.
Slide number 2. Okay.
Imagine that. It went from 1 to 2, Ted. You are organized. And I just want to say something real quickly to everyone. Number one, thank you.
That's my wife.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for being here, right? The viewer. Again, it's not TED Tube, it's not Ron Tube, it's YouTube. So we do appreciate you joining us and talking about this, which are very critical issues that I think a lot of us silver and gold investors want to talk about. I also forgot to really introduce Ted. Ted's with Ted Speaks. All of his contact information, including Twitter, YouTube channel, email address, will be in the description of this video. And without further ado, Ted, talk to us about a debt avalanche versus a debt snowball.
Well, I'd like to know what a do is first. You told me you might have to go. Anyway, so the debt avalanche versus the debt snowball. A debt avalanche, what that does is it prioritizes the interest rate. So obviously, let's suppose you have 20-some credit cards out there. You'd want to start with the highest interest rate first, okay? And then pay more towards the higher interest rate each and every month in order to pay it down a little bit faster. That's a slow way, okay? The other way is where the derivatives simply get wiped out, okay? And as we had talked about before, derivatives and derivative holders have a superior lien on your account. And this is what's called in the Dodd-Frank Act, okay, as a bail-in. Now, you should have a slide on bail-ins, all right? So a bail-in, basically, Ron, that was slide number 3 for today, okay? So a bail-in is, we're familiar with a bailout, right? That's what happened back in 2008 with that troubled asset relief program. The $2.some trillion, everybody got their hand in the cookie jar and left home, and they were all fat and happy, but except for us, right? So a bail-in, okay, as opposed to a bailout is when the government comes down and bails out the banks. That's not going to happen next time. Next time is what's called a bail-in. And folks, this is really what put the fire under my belly, because what happened in 2003, I started learning about the silver and what was going on with the digits and stocks not being real and all that stuff. We'll cover that, okay? But when 2013, what's
2013, not 2003.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So anyway, where were we?
about the stocks.
Okay.
About the money.
All right.
The bail-in of 2013.
Okay. So the bail-in, what that is that's when the banks take the depositors' money and use that to make the bank, or actually use that to hydrate or to reimburse the derivative holders. Now, the derivatives are in the quadrillions. There's way more quadrillions than there are dollars. So if we were to go back to the U.S. debt clock a little later on, I don't want to do that right now, you'll see that the total amount of money in the checkbook, in order to honor the checks, which are $655 trillion, you have $655 trillion of debt and only $20 trillion in the checkbook. If you had $655,000 of debt and you only had $20,000 in the checkbook, you got a problem, right? I'm pointing this out to you. And I don't think I'm going to get emotional anymore because we're past that point. You know, first time, this is a different time here. You already know this now. If you don't take action, it's your fault. You're going to wind up with nothing. And you've been seeing this. You know that silver is money. We've talked about it. You're talking to a certified financial planner, certified estate planner, 27 years in practice, 15 years as a radio personality, never challenged, never been objected to. You guys are welcome to do that. But there were attorneys and CPAs, all kinds of leopards and snakes were out there trying to get me. Not one of them. Because you speak the truth, you don't have a problem. 15 years in Baltimore, Maryland. Check it out, okay?
Yeah.
But the bottom line is this is real, okay? This is not real. This is the $5 note I originally showed you that's issued by, this one's here is issued by the United States, okay? However, this one here was issued by the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, if you go back to the Bank of International Settlements, you can find out that the Federal Reserve is actually underneath the United States of America. They own the banks in America. We do not own our own bank, okay? So let's get that straight. So a bail-in is when the banks take your money to make up for the losses they've incurred in the stock market. So why is this important? Well, why are bail-ins happening? Well, bail-ins are happening because what was his Clinton. Bill Clinton repealed the Glass-Steagall Act. Let's take a look at the Glass-Steagall Act here. That is slide number 7, Ron. Okay. So this is the Glass-Steagall Act. All right.
I'm going to pull it up, Ted.
Okay.
It's on the screen.
I'm going to keep going. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
The Glass-Steagall Act was placed in effect to stop commercial banks from investing in the stock market. So they take deposits that are supposed to be insured and they speculate in the stock market. Well, that was the cause of the Great Depression, because the people that had shorts and margins and all that kind of stuff going on in their accounts, they got out first. And they took all the cash. And that's why there was a Great Depression. It was a withdrawal in liquidity. Okay. So what's happened right now is we've had the Glass-Steagall Act repealed by Bill Clinton. It should have never been repealed. The place where you invest your safe money should not be the place where you're investing in the stock market. Okay. So that's what's called the Glass-Steagall Act, and that was designed to be put into place and was put in place in order to stop the Great Depression, remember, happening again. But when Bill Clinton repealed it, there we go. So what I'd like to do right now.
Ted, I want to throw something in that I think is important for people to realize, just to make sure everyone understands what Ted is saying. It used to be if you put $100,000 in the bank, that the bank couldn't take your $100,000 and throw it into the stock market or make a risky investment. And that was the Glass-Steagall Act that prohibited banks from doing that. And now that's been partially changed or completely repealed.
The whole act's been repealed.
Yeah, and I think what this kind of goes back to, I want to go back a little bit further in history. I think it's important for us to realize as well that maybe there's a reason why Thomas Jefferson said that the biggest threat to our country is not an invading army, but big banks, big central banks. You know, maybe Andrew Jackson was onto something with what he said about central banks and banking in general, that these banks kind of can take over everything and create massive issues. And then they always say, oh, it'll never happen again, right? Like we talked about earlier, it'll never happen again. And the
Yeah.
one thing
Promise.
we know, we
Trust me.
promise we're better this time. Just
Right.
we may need you to bail us out in the future. But the one thing we know, if we look throughout history, again, I want to reiterate this point, silver and gold have always acted as a very effective safe harbor, whether it's against banking issues in the United States, Europe, anywhere in the world, fiat, money printing, unicorn fart dust, whatever you want to call it, financial shenanigans, synthetic derivatives, whatever it is, silver and gold have seen the story before, and they've always endured.
The question I have for you, are any of those investments that you have directly can you directly convert them into silver, real money, as the Constitution says? You know, we talked about the Constitution before, Article 1, Section 10, the United States Constitution. And we brought this up, that Article 1, Section 10 says the only thing we're supposed to be using in the United States is gold and silver as money. So what is the Federal Reserve note? Is that gold and silver? No. Basically, it was a corrupt group that was able to take control of our government, buy out the top seats, and could take the power of the people away. And that was done up until 1871. We were on a silver standard. And then in 1871, a whole lot of turmoil happened. They didn't like the fact that the people had the power. So in 1871, they went from a silver standard to a what's called a bimetal standard, partially silver, partially gold. And basically, once they had their foot in the door to get the public away from just all silver, then they gradually shifted silver away from the use of money as currency, actually, use of money, okay, to gold. And what did that do to the working class and the poor and the middle class? It took their purchasing power away from them. So basically, from the time that we went, I would say from 1871 up to right now, which is what, 170 years? And isn't that the same number of years that Bix Weir's been talking about? Interesting, huh? So in 1871, the power went from the people to the wealthy because the wealthy were holding the gold, okay? Then in August 15th of 1971, what happened? Ron? Nixon took us off the gold standard temporarily, right?
I remember, Ted, I was 1 year old and I was very upset. My mom wondered why I was crying so much during that year.
Oh my God. I thought we were closer in age than that. I'm going to need a moment, folks. Now, when you folks realize that the assets that you thought you owned, we're going to find out very quickly that those have been used as collateral in the derivative complex, you're going to hit the roof because it's all going to melt down. You're going to find yourself at the back of the line. Let me read you a quote that George Bush put out, okay? You know, if the people were to ever find out what we've done, we would be chased down in the streets and lynched. So, remember we talked about the stock certificates. Give us your old junky stock certificates like the junk silver, okay? And we'll put your stock certificates and your stocks in an account. Well, what happened was you lost this unique identifier here called a QSIP number. If it wasn't important, why was it there? You have to have a unique identifier with what you have. Otherwise, there's no real proof of ownership. And look at the beautiful logo that's in the center here. Now look at the unique identifier here and look at the beautiful artwork that's in there. Look at this. You don't have any of that now, okay? You don't have a unique identifier. It's all simply digits on a computer screen. So a question I would have, if all your wealth or even a million or two of your millionaire wealth is in digital form, who's keeping track of the digits? Who's keeping track of the digits? If you had this, you could prove that what you own. But if you don't have the computer that has your digits in it, how are you going to be able to prove you even own it? You gave up ownership of your certificate voluntarily. And I'm sorry I was part of that, but I'm making a tone for that right now.
Well, what about Ted? What about that tube of silver eagles that you like to hold up so much, right? I mean, has that become almost, as we move into this modern, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, system where everything's electronic, everything's synthetic? I think you could even say that it's almost that case to a certain degree with stock certificates that there's very few things left that you can actually hold that are real money. I mean, really, that's almost, is that it? I'm having a breakthrough moment here, Ted. That's really about it. Everything above silver and gold is synthetic, is man-made,
right.
make believe.
So let me ask you a question, okay?
Okay.
These stock certificates, what do you think they're worth right now? Zero.
Yeah.
They're zero, okay? What is this worth right now?
About $28, I think.
Well, that'd be $16,000 a monster box. Yeah, you're right in the ballpark there. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if you want to buy paper silver, which you owned by 393 other people, okay, that'll be a little bit cheaper, like $24.50. Okay. Now, if you want to go physical, the cheapest way to buy physical is a 1,000-ounce bar. But unless you're running around in that neighborhood and you're running around with those folks that are swapping at 1,000-ounce bars back and forth as money, you come in with 1 or 2,000-ounce bars. How do they know the bar is real? So in the event that you're holding a bar, okay, and you want to redeem it, and let's suppose you bought the bar through some company and they sent it over to some vault, okay, obviously the serial number of the bar is not something you're going to be able to replicate. So you're not going to be able to take it back to where you bought it and prove to them that you have the bar number that they had sold you, okay? So you lose that provenance. All right, we talked a little bit about that before. So now that you've lost now that you're holding that 1,000-ounce bar, where are you going to take it? It weighs about 40 some pounds. You're going to have to take it either to a pawn shop or a coin store. And the laws in the state of Maryland are, especially in Baltimore County and Carroll County, which is where I live, is that the coin store or the pawn shop must hold onto that bar for a minimum of 8 to 14 days, depending upon the county, and then a police report run to find out whether or not the bar was stolen. Now, if the bar is stolen, how much money do you think that the coin store owner will get back from you for having bought that bar from you? No, you're long gone. So if that's a possibility, plus he has to wait 8 to 14 days to get his money back, and you're going in there with a $23,000 or $24,000 bar, how much of that $24,000 are you actually going to get because of all the risk that's involved in knowing whether or not the bar is real, whether or not it's stolen, and then how are you going to negotiate? That's a $23,000 bill you got there. How are you going to go out and buy a newspaper or whatever with that? You got to have your funds divisible. So you're not in the crowd for 1,000-ounce bars. You're not in the crowd for 100-ounce bars. I don't think you're in the crowd for 10-ounce bars as long as there are American Silver Eagles available. Think of this as the real crab that's in the soup, okay? And think of all the other stuff that they keep putting in, watered down soup. What we're really going to do, what we really
I want to reiterate something to the audience as well. There's a lot of differing opinions as to what's the best silver to stack. Ted's giving us his opinion. My opinion is very similar to his, although I do have a few bars, and like a lot of you out there, right? There's a big differing opinion in terms of what's the best silver. Some people just say all that matters is ounces, right? But then there's this currency of the land argument. So there's a lot. I think what's important is that listen to Ted, listen to other people, maybe even listen to me a little bit, but form your own opinion in terms of what you're comfortable with. Would you say that? Yeah. I don't know.
So it really, if you think of, you got to think of this upside down, okay? You can't think of it the way they want you to think of it. You don't want to buy the cheapest silver out there. You want the best bang for the buck. A friend of mine once said, Ted, why don't you go first class? It only costs 10% more. But the thing is that it's not so much about what you buy the silver for. It's what you can use the silver for. Okay. So if you have the most fungible type of silver in your country, again, like if you're in Canada, it would be the maple leaf, United States, the American Silver Eagle, and and the same sort of thing in every country around the world. You all have your own currency and your own fiat currency notes. I'm telling you, the BIS is being bankrupted. All those central banks they have all around the world, they're being pulled out. They really are, Ron. I've been studying this for 11 and a half years. This is what's happening. It's been well planned. So as the BIS is ripped out, okay, we have a new currency that's going to go in. But see, let's think of this as a patient on a gurney, and he goes into the final operation. Now, we've had him prepared, we softened him up and we've got him drugged up and that kind of thing. He's had all this stuff. And oh my gosh, the U.S. economic patient, the global economic patient is on the gurney. They're ready to die. All right. So they're on a heart rate machine to keep them going because they got to disconnect the heart. They got to disconnect what is currently running the global financial system, which is the Bank for International Settlements, Keynesian economic model. That's what's happening. It's never happened before. So somebody can tell you what the date or the time is. I'd look at that with a jaundiced eye because I don't know. And I'm pretty well connected, I think. The names you want to watch for are Dr. Judy Shelton. I believe she's going to be the new director of the United States Treasury. She's a very sharp gal. You should do some research on her, because if you're concerned, you're thinking about, should I go out and buy silver? Should I buy gold? Or should I hold stocks? You listen to Judy Shelton. She'll tell you exactly what you needs to do. And if you don't get the good vibes from her, I think you need to take off your glasses, because she is one sharp gal and she's a patriot. She's very sharp. And she was approved by or appointed by President Trump to sit on the Federal Reserve Board. Dr. Judy Shelton, Shelton.
Okay.
These are the players in the new economy. But you got to be holding the money. And ideally, the coin of the realm, which if it's United States, is American Silver Eagles. Canada, you want to be holding Maple Leafs. Okay.
Okay. Hey, Ted, I'm going to take a quick break here, give you a quick break. And I want to say thank you to our sponsors. I want to start with Pimbex, where my finger is there, Pimbex. They sponsor Ron's Basement, online bullion dealer. If you're shopping to buy silver, gold, or platinum online, do yourself a favor, throw them into the mix. I'm never going to tell you what to do, but compare what you can get from Pimbex to what you can get from other online bullion dealers. I think you'll find what I found when several of you basement dwellers recommended I check out Pimbex, and that is you're going to get the same metal at a better price. You're going to have a great selection and a great customer service experience. Pimbex, Pimbex. I love to spell it. I love to say it. And I love to get more metal for my money. Now, I also want to say thank you to Fortuna Silver Mines. I'll be interviewing Jorge Ganoza, the CEO of Fortuna Silver, tomorrow morning. They just came out with their fourth quarter 2023 numbers. Unbelievable amount of cash flow generated, a company that's been being built over the last 20 years. You can learn more about them at fortunasilver.com. And of course, our friends at First Mining Gold. We have Dan Wilton, the CEO, Keith Neumeyer, the founder and chairman of the company, 2 5 million ounce deposits in Canada. You can learn more about them at firstmininggold.com. Thank you to all our sponsors for making Ron's Basement possible. Ted, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you think, Ted, that we are going to see a day? I hear some other people on YouTube talk about this from time to time, where a person could potentially buy something like a small house for $100. I'm sorry, 100 ounces. See, I'm a dollar thinker. 100 ounces of silver. You ever heard that notion?
Well, rather than me try to pontificate or opine on it, why don't we deal with the facts? The facts is that during the Weimar Republic, you used to be able to buy a very, very nice house for around 3 or 4 ounces of gold. And why is that? Because they created so many units of currency. As I said before, they ran out of ink. Remember the picture I just showed you, the currency notes on the back? They ran out of ink. They were creating so much of it. Now, in our case, in the United States, they've not only run out of ink, they run out of paper, and they digitized the whole thing. So look down at the bottom here, right in the center. You see the note that's blank, that's turned over on top, the note that's printed on? That is the back side of another note, exactly like that one. They had to make the currency, the fiat currency, as cheaply as possible because it wasn't worth any money to print it in the first place. Okay. So if you see this here, okay, that's the back of this one. All right. So this is the front. Okay. And they ran out of ink, and that's the back. This is the back of that one, and that's the front. Okay. So I'm not pulling any games here. This is the way it worked. And they ran out of paper, and they started printing it on bamboo. So the thing is that what is really worth your time for the currency note that they're giving you in exchange for your time? Well, what I would suggest is that we go back and we take another look at this Dodd-Frank Act, because in the middle of the night, they stole the money from you. In 1965, all right, I guess still got full screen here.
Yeah.
In 1965, okay, actually 1964, they stole the money from our money, okay? So this is 1964 and earlier silver. That is still money, okay? Now, can you hear it? Listen to that, okay, compared to this. All right. You hear the difference? Okay, look.
I can hear it.
Can you hear the difference?
Yes, definitely.
So this has a higher ting to it. It's called sound money. Okay. Golly days. I mean, cheesy peasy. You guys need to. I don't have the date, but I'm telling you, it's soon approaching. And when the date happens, your ability to do anything about it is over. Okay. So think of it like this. You're showing up to a concert, okay? And you get there like I did 11 and a half years ago. And the warm-up band when he started playing at that point, how do you even know the concert was going to begin? Well, anyway, I figured it out. And what the clue was then I was told, watch out for bail-ins. Well, when that bail-in happened in Cyprus in 2013, that scared the pants off of me, because then I realized for sure that what I was being taught and what I was learning is true. And that's when I lit the candle and I did everything I could to get into the MIT Austrian Monetary Economics program. I had 25 people they led into it. It was taught by Dr. Antal Fakete. Do some research. This guy's the bomb, or at least he was. But anyway, Austrian monetary economics is always where these fiat currencies run back to, because once they've run their course, what is there left? It snaps back. And so I'm not making this up. I mean, it's history. This is the way it goes. Look at all the examples of the failed currencies that you had on that desk back there. Every one of them went through the same process. They all hyperinflate, then people lose the confidence, and they go back to sound money. Okay. What is helping us to lose the confidence here is the fact that the Chinese government is giving out fake $100 bills to their Chinese travelers coming to the U.S., trying to pass them off as real notes. Now, why do you think they're doing that? Maybe because we did it to them. Is it possible we sent some gold bars over there that were actually gold-covered tungsten bars because the specific gravity is very same? Check it out. Just ask this Google question. What is the specific gravity of tungsten, and what is the specific gravity of gold? 39.1, 39.3. So there's very, very little difference in the density. So you cover that thing with a gold wrapper, or you gold coat it or whatever, and ship it out to China in exchange for paying some bills. Isn't that a lot like watering down the money supply and inflating it? Ron, I asked for your opinion. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, oh yeah, absolutely, right. That would be a form of printing gold, although we don't have definitive evidence that has occurred in the past. I know I've heard that notion before that the gold bars are tungsten wrapped in gold. There's been no definitive. What's that?
China actually discovered gold.
Oh,
bars.
right.
Yes,
they did. You're right. You're right.
Yep.
And the other thing I want to mention is what we're talking about here is the sky is falling. The sky is falling, right? We're in all this big trouble. Oh my gosh, blah, blah. I want to say two things about that. We don't know for sure when, or even, it sure seems like things can happen, or if things are going to happen, but we do know, right? So I kind of felt the same way 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So I want to emphasize that point, but I also want to emphasize that if we look at, for example, that table of paper currency that you have, all of which are now worthless, we do know that throughout history, these things have happened. And I want to repeat the point. I think it's that, most people just have fallen asleep. And I guess it's normalcy bias, right? Like, well, the banks have always been open and the banks have always been a good place to store my money. That doesn't mean, nothing goes on forever. And again, if we look at history, even though we can't, I'll repeat, I love when Rick Rule says, don't confuse that which is inevitable with that which is imminent, right? That we don't know for sure what's going to happen, but we do know, and I'll end with this point before I hand it back to Ted. We do know that silver and gold for thousands of years have always held their value.
Well, they have indeed. And you had made a comment about gold, and what was that comment that you made? And I wanted to expound on that a little bit, but geez, so much information I'm trying to get out to people. I'm trying to speak as fast as I can. Sometimes thoughts come in when Ron is speaking. Oh, I ought to mention that. You're looking at 27 years worth of experience trying to get out right before the dollar crashes. So why do you think I chose this point in time now? I decided to throw caution to the wind, folks, because the time is nigh. Get the cash and get it into real money. Real money in America is American Silver Eagles. Get the cash out of bank account, savings account. Trust yourself first. And then as far as those of you that are taking a hit on or thinking about avoiding a tax hit from rolling your money out of an IRA or 401k into silver and using all kinds of third parties, again, I would suggest that you take the 35% tax hit. You get the cash, you get the money, and you get the silver in your own possession, and fall asleep on it and sleep tight. So,
yeah, but I also want to mention, Ted, that we want to be careful with financial advice, right? That's Ted's opinion. My channel, we aren't offering financial or tax planning advice. Listen to Ted. Listen to other people, maybe talk to a tax advisor, financial advisor, and then make up, decisions for yourself.
Yeah, I understand. I get a little fast and loose with that because, geez, I did it for 27 years. It's sort of hard to say, oh, I can't talk about it now because it's the wrong day.
Well, I mean, you were a financial planner, right?
Yes.
Right.
I did all this stuff. I set up the trust. I did all the tax work, legal work.
Ted worked his entire career as a financial planner. So I think it's easy for you to fall into financial planner mode. But I want to emphasize for the audience that we aren't, on my channel, I'm not giving financial advice. Ted is free to say, obviously, whatever he likes, but just, use your, the resources that are available to you, including financial planners, other people out there.
The reason why I reached out to you with a prayer to see if you'd have me on today is because of this.
Yeah.
The bank term funding program, folks, ends at midnight tonight. Okay. And we know that we just had to move our clocks ahead as well. All right. If you want any of this information, please send an email to ted@tedspeaks.net. Okay. If you have any trepidations, I don't know what more I can do. You got to get out of the digits and you got to get into the real silver, because the real silver is finite. The real silver represents your labor, which is finite. It's been money for thousands of years. It's been money in thousands of countries for thousands of years, thousands of time over. Every time these other fiat currencies fail, they say, oh, well, this piece of paper is no good anymore. Try this one. Would you fall for that? No, it's a constant swing back and forth from fiat to real, from fiat to real. This time with President Donald Trump in office, the guy that came out of retirement, the guy that put up his own bucks, the guy that ran for office, the guy that's taking all the slings and arrows, the guy that's coordinating all this, and the guy that's looking for sheriffs and other aspect of our economy here to bring law and order back to our economy. I think it's time we do that. And that's what we're talking about. But more importantly, right now, you got to get the money in your own hands. They're running out of this stuff. If you call Pimbex right now, I don't know how many monster boxes of American Type 1 and Silver Eagles are left. Call around. But once they're gone, don't give up. Then go after the dimes that they have. I talked to Mike down there. He says they have about 40,000 face of dimes. So each bag of face dimes will run you probably around $18,000 to $19,000. So what that means is that each dime is going to be worth about $1.80. Okay. So if there's 14 dimes per ounce, do the math, you're looking at 14 times $1.80, which is $3.60, about $4 roughly. What is that? Can somebody do the math? Anyway, so what we're talking about is getting back to real money, and getting back to the dimes will allow you to divide the ounces that you have here into 14 separate transactions if you hold the dimes. So my suggestion would be to hold the real money. So one of these would cost $32.40 at $18,000 per thousand. So it'd be $18 per dime. So that is another good way to go with this. But again, I was a certified financial planner, certified estate planner. And really, we're not talking about investments. We're talking about taking investments that you have and turn them into money until the war is over here that we're fighting. Okay, we're fighting a political war, we're fighting an economic war, we're fighting a near kinetic war, and we're also fighting an informational war. Okay,
we're fighting a war between, I love when you said that, between Keynesian economics and Austrian economics. Keynesian economics, meaning all that synthetic make-believe money, right? Banknotes, paper money, electronic money, derivatives, all that. And Austrian economics, real money. I want to hone in here for a second, right? Because we talk about financial crisis, right? You know, this or even if we tone it back just a little bit, let's say financial disruptions like we've had during the C-19 crisis, during the 08 financial crisis. We see the confluence right now. We see some evidence developing. You talked about the BTFP program, the Bank Term Funding Program, which ends tomorrow, right?
Yes, tonight.
Tonight. Yeah, tonight. That could be a big deal. We know the reverse repo program has been being drained. I didn't see up-to-date numbers for this week on that one, but that was kind of this, what I called stealth QE program that the Fed had going on. We had Jerome Powell last week in testifying to Congress, and he said he expects there to be a few banks that fail. And
Well,
wait, let me finish here. That's okay, but let's look at the forest through the trees. Our viewer who's with us is a smart person. Okay, so if Jerome Powell is in front of Congress, and if I have that correct, that he insinuated that we're going to have some banking trouble because of the commercial real estate problem, think about what Jerome Powell is paid to give the best spin on everything. So if we look back, that same Jerome Powell that said, oh, inflation's not a problem, inflation's temporary, inflation's transitory, we'll never have another, these people at the top are paid to be as optimistic as possible. If that's his most optimistic assessment of what we have coming, could we be in for more? And I'm going to let you speak for a second, but I want to pull up an article from a top real estate CEO where he warns us just of that. Go ahead, Ted.
Sure. Yeah. What we're talking about is basically one bank using its credibility to guarantee or provide security and safety, or kind words, that the depositors will be okay. And what we're talking about in this particular example, more specifically, is what's called a CDO, or collateralized debt obligation. Basically, let's suppose that you're JP Morgan and I'm Bank of America. Both of us are broke. We know that. We got more liabilities than we do assets. So when your outgo exceeds your upkeep, your income becomes your downfall. Remember that one? Okay. Yep. So one more time, if your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep becomes your downfall. So the bottom line is that Bank of America has no money. They're upside down. Their derivatives exposure is far greater than their asset base. Besides, whose asset base does that belong to? Well, I guess if it belongs to if we follow the Dodd-Frank Act, it sure as heck doesn't belong to you, does it? So the bottom line is we have Bank of America with no assets, and we have Chase Manhattan Bank with no assets, because they both have more derivatives than they do assets. So I'm not lying. It's the way it is. So we both have good names, though. So I say to Ron, hey, buddy, we're friends. I'll guarantee your bank if you guarantee mine. I'm JP Morgan. You're Bank of America. So as long as we're leaning up against each other, we're back to back, okay? And it looks perfectly fine. We're supporting each other in terms of smoke and mirrors, right? But what happens if my knees go out and I go down? Let's suppose that I go down, okay? And now what has to happen is Ron has to pony up with the money to bring me back up. But Ron doesn't have any money. Ron's already broke himself. Now, do you think other banks got into this too? How about Signature Bank says, hey, we don't have the name that you guys do, okay? But we'll guarantee your loans if you guarantee ours. So it's a big charade. It's actually what's called kabuki theater. We're living in a Potemkin village. Look this stuff up, folks. We're living in a Potemkin village watching a kabuki theater, and none of it is real. It's the most exciting, fun thing. You guys got to get in on the party. But the only way you can get in on the party and have some fun is you remove the stress from yourself. If you take what you have, and let's suppose, as that chart that he brought up, let's suppose that all you can do is put together, say, 5 or 6 monster boxes or whatever, okay? We're talking what it is you've saved, your life efforts. And that should be represented in something that's real, not something that's digit, and not something that's paper that can be inflated away and printed away, okay? So you have to hold your own money. If you don't, somebody else is holding it for you.
So all these make all these
that if you don't hold it, somebody else does. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. And what I'd like to add is, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Guess who? We do. We own it. We got this. So
Yeah.
if you're holding a script or proxy for this, and we're holding the real thing for this, when all this calamity happens, and it's going to happen, folks, it's going to happen like a switch and a light switch being flipped. It's got to happen that way because you're looking at 7.8 billion people on the face of the planet. Now think about this for a minute. 7.8 billion people on the face of the planet. Think about how many transactions you conduct each and every day. Are you using electricity? Are you using water? Are you eating today? Whatever. Let's just suppose on the low side, we anticipate 2.5 transactions per day per person times 7.8 billion people. How many ounces of silver are going to need for that? Oh, we can't be measured in ounces, Mr. Provenza. We're going to have to measure it in something much smaller than that. Oh, really? Give me an idea. Well, we're thinking we might have to measure it in micrograms. Micrograms? What in the world is a microgram? Milligram. What is a milligram? A milligram is 1,000 of a gram. Yes, they're monetizing and they're dealing in gold over there in Qatar by the milligram right now. So the deal is this: there's 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram, and there's 31.1 grams in 1 troy ounce. Now, there's another type of ounce that we use. It's called an avoirdupois. It comes from France, and basically it means a weight of wool, so to speak. And that's a type of unit of weight that we typically use. Now, how many grams? The number of grams in an avoirdupois ounce is 28.8. So don't get cheated. You better keep a note of that. So don't confuse the number of ounces, standard ounces in the United States, denoted by avoirdupois, okay, with troy ounces, which are 31.1 ounce, 31.1 grams. Okay. So again, the troy ounces measures precious metals, and the avoirdupois measures everything else. Okay.
Hey, Ted.
Yes.
The sky, I have to remind you, the sky is falling right now, right? Or at minimum, what proof do we have that we could be heading into this period of financial disruption? I'm going to pull up an article. I want you to read this. So I want to circle back to this. What we could be facing here in the next several months. This is from Fortune magazine. Top real estate CEO warns 500 or more banks will either fail or be consolidated over the next 2 years. This has to do with the commercial real estate issue that we're facing as all these loans need to be rolled over, and the collateral that backs the loans, empty office buildings, are worth now maybe 60 cents, 70 cents, 40 cents, whatever on the dollar. That this is going to put huge stress on the banking sector. Any thoughts on that?
You put a lot of eggs in the blender that time, buddy, and there's a lot we got to get on scramble. I mean, holy cow. I mean, I wanted to stop you a couple of different times there, but it's your show and I'm trying to be polite. So let's take a look at this right now. Look at this. This is the home sales. It's falling off a cliff. So why was the home sales going so robust? Why was it going the greatest ever? Because money was made so cheap. Okay. I'm in a fairly nice neighborhood, and it was all filled with CEOs and anesthesiologists and surgeons and all that stuff. Okay. The neighborhood has completely changed. We have a lot of different professions in here. Okay. Because the price of the money has come down, and now people that, more people from different walks of life can afford to be in our neighborhood because the mortgage payments are much lower. Okay. When I moved here, it wasn't quite that way. But what happened in here is we basically brought future demand into the present at the time. And by doing that, you're stealing the demand from the future, piling it into the day to have a great today. But then what happens tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day? The only way we're going to come out of this is if we have a complete new monetary system. All the debt has got to be repudiated globally, because who is that owed to? All the debt is owed to the Bank for International Settlements. They can go down with the whole thing. We're going to leave them with the debt. We're going to take away their fiat currency. They're all going to be gone anyway. Then we're going to return back to sovereign money, each offered by each individual state, not country, sovereign country. In the United States, we're going to go back to the American Silver Eagle. Now, this recording here will probably be around for a little while, wouldn't you think?
Yep.
Test me out and see whether or not I'm correct. But see, the only time you're going to be able to find out if I'm correct is after it's already happened. So I guess my question would be, if I have a pedigree, if I know what I'm talking about, 27 years of experience, zero complaints, zero in 27 years. That's because of interorum clause they put in all the different trusts. Never had a complaint. Now, I never offered silver, never suggested people buy silver, because if I did, it'd be called selling away and I'd lose my job. I'd be fired from ING immediately. You can't offer something that isn't sold by ING. So again, for instance, suppose you're working for Ford and a young couple comes in there looking for a reliable van. And you know the Toyota Sienna is the best van, but you're working for Ford. And you just like these people so much that, geez, you really need to go to the Toyota dealership and get yourself a Sienna. We have crap here for vans. How long would you have a job? You can't tell the truth out there. I've been through $10,000 so far in the last 7 days trying to get this up and running. You guys did your part. We put the fish in the water, or the bait in the water on last March 1st with you, Ron. And the response was so overwhelming, but it still took me about 5 or 6 days to decide that I was going to open up the piggy bank more and really go first class with this thing. So the first 10,000 is gone, and we're now looking for some sponsors. And one guy is stepping up, and I'd like to have a board that I can do math problems for you and explain things and be able to move pictures around myself so that we can keep it all going. So Ron isn't, having as much challenge and everything, trying to keep up, because you're doing a great job. I mean, I don't know anybody keep up. Nobody can. With
hey, look, I'm on the screen again, Ted. I'm on the screen. Yeah,
Well,
Ted has invested in, and his wife, Margaret Ann, have invested a tremendous amount of effort and resources into this. Again, there's links to all his information below, but I want to give you a break, Ted, for a second. There's one more.
Can I cover just one more thing, please?
Yeah, let me. Yeah, go ahead. Hold on here.
All right.
Hold on. Let me put you on full screen, Ted.
Okay.
What do you have there?
This is the withdrawal of the M2 money supply. Folks, has it ever happened in history? Folks, why in the world would I come out of retirement, spend my own money to educate you if this wasn't really serious stuff? It is. It is serious.
Ted, I'm going to pull up the debt. Ted, I'm going to pull up the debt clock and show people visually with my pointer. Yep. There's the M2 money supply, guys, 20 trillion. But if you look there, it is shrinking. And I want to throw this in, Ted. What I've heard on the M2 money supply is the only other times that it shrunk, I think, were during the Depression, the Great Depression, or like basically during periods of, it's very unusual for the M2 money supply to shrink. And at any time in the past when it did, it was a harbinger for not good things to come. And I want to run over here real quick. This was a big point. People freaked out about the dollar to silver ratio and the dollar to gold ratio being zero. That's because, and I want to show you guys this again one last time. If you hover over that, okay, that's because it's a ratio that compares the year-over-year increase in the M2 money supply divided by the yearly world production of silver. But since the M2 money supply is shrinking, that's why we have a zero over there. Back to you.
Stay on that screen, Ron. Please stay. Can you go back to that screen? I got a surprise for you.
Yes, sir.
Do you see where it says open secret window?
Yes.
Folks, get on out. usdebtclock.org. I'm
going to open it, Ted.
Okay, click on it. Here we go.
I think we saw this yesterday during my live. Yeah, there's
that. Okay, so the debt clock is giving us clues that it's about run its course. So United States restoration, we're coming out of the Federal Reserve, okay? The Federal Reserve represents the fiat currencies that have been created, okay? And it keeps everybody in debt because the Federal Reserve only issues notes, and notes are debt instruments. So you're basically collecting debt instruments. And what I'm suggesting that you do is think outside the box a little bit. You already are. That's why you're here on the show. Take the redemption certificates while you can and exchange them for the currency of the realm. Currency of the realm is what money is actually legitimate in your country. Is the United States dollar constitutionally legitimate in the United States of America? I asked that to you folks. I showed you this in the Constitution here. Do you think that the current money that we're current fiat currency, the present fiat currency that we're using, is constitutional or unconstitutional? If it's unconstitutional, there's something called fruit of the poison tree. It's a legal term. Okay, something just happened to my computer here. Anyway, the fruit of the poison tree says that anything beyond the point where the tree got poisoned is poisonous in and of itself. So let's suppose that you try to inform. All right, let me give a real bad example. Okay, I bought a pound of cocaine from Ron. All right. And,
just for the record, I'm not a cocaine dealer. Okay, thank you.
And what happened was I decided not to pay Ron. Okay. So Ron decides to take me to court. Can Ron sue me for non-payment of a pound of cocaine or however it's sold? Ron, could you sue me in court for not having paid you for the cocaine?
I don't know. I would think not, since it's illegal.
No,
right?
it has to have.
I don't know because I'm not in that line of business.
I was. Well, I'm not that, but I was in the contract business. I know about contract law. Okay, I never got cocaine. I was using that as an example because
it's illegal. You were using that.
Illegal. Okay.
Right. Otherwise, we would use bananas or a car or something like that. But that's legal. I could sue you over a car.
Using the example of bananas, a car would give them a shake by the collars as much as cocaine would. Okay. All right. But what I'm saying is that because I didn't pay Ron, okay, can Ron take me to court and force me to pay Ron for the pound of cocaine? The answer is no. It's not an enforceable contract. Okay. So if you get back to the Constitution and all these fake judges, you're seeing that with Fannie Willis, and it's whatever. The big butted lady that was trying to prosecute Trump through her office hired the boyfriend Wade, I think, and they use it basically as a slush fund to travel around the world and have fun. And hey, well, I know you did this before, never prosecuted a former president, but hey, here's $650K. Let's go have some fun and see what you do. Our country doesn't work that way. Come on, folks. It's time we are identifying who the bad players are, and it's really easy to get them out at this point in time.
Hey, Ted,
who are they coming out?
Ted, I want to talk about, we've talked about potential financial disruptions in the coming years. We've talked about worst case scenario, even though we're told it'll never happen again, but potential for financial crisis, right? Even though it happened in 08 to whatever. And it's happened all throughout history. But I want to look at an example of kind of where it's unfolding right now, because I think this is very interesting. If we look at other examples throughout the world, I'm going to pull up a quick article for us about Egypt. Bear with me here as I pull this up. And this is an article written by a gentleman named Ken Silva. Report: Egyptians are trading in gold amidst a fiat currency collapse. Says the government.
Hold it. You have to say that right. They're not trading in their gold. They're trading in gold.
Trading in gold, not trading
in their gold. Okay. Right. In the fiat currency. They're using gold instead of fiat currency. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. They're trading with gold. Maybe it might be.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We'll contact him and have him rewrite that title. The government announced in November that it was partnering with a financial technology company to install ATMs that would dispense gold bars instead of cash. Hold on here. Hold on, Ted. Hold on. In what could be a harbinger of things to come for the United States of America, the New York Times reported this week that Egyptians are flocking to gold. Hold on, Ted. And I'm going to let you say whatever you want.
I'm biting the bit.
As the country's fiat currency, also known as paper money, unicorn fart dust, whatever you want to call it. The name of their currency is the pound, collapses. Okay. The March 5th article reported demand for gold in Egypt was more than doubled, and that the value of the yellow metal has increased by more than 30%. But I want to talk about silver. Okay. It says here the market grew so fevered that the government announced in November that they're going to start these gold dispensing ATMs. Reuters, here, silver. Reuters, okay? Got New York Times, Reuters.
Can you send this to me? I like this. Can you send this to me?
Okay, Reuters reported last month that the price of 1 gram of silver more than doubled in a year to 47 Egyptian pounds, though it remains far cheaper than gold. The price of a gram of 21 karat gold rose, blah, blah, blah. Here, this is what's interesting. Quote, this is a quote, and I heard this a few weeks ago. Quote, silver is the new gold, said a salesman at the Cairo silver store. He told Reuters. Now, I want to go ahead. You can say a few things, but then I want to pull up a chart of silver in Egypt. Ted, any thoughts on what I just showed you?
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah, man. I was about ready to jump into your screen and bust through the TV set here.
Okay, so what's up on the screen now? What the viewers are seeing, they're seeing a chart of silver in Egypt that is not that long. It's like I think it's a 2-year chart, and we can see here on the far right side that in the last month alone, silver has gone from about, let's say 700 Egyptian pounds all the way up to, looks like about 1,200 Egyptian pounds. Probably.
Does it look like it's going to slow down anytime soon?
No, it does not.
Oh, okay. Do you think that the proclivities in Egypt might be a contagion that might run over here into the United States?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's causing this in Egypt are the same things that we're dealing with in the United States, although we still are the most powerful country in the world, and the dollar, although in trouble, is still the most powerful currency in the world. I guess the question is, does that insulate us? Are we excused in the United States from having to deal with the basic laws of mathematics?
That's a very, very good question that you're asking, and I think it has a very straightforward answer. We're all humans. We're all on the same planet. Okay. Yeah. We all need one another to get along and have the best life possible. There are certain resources that are available in other parts of the world that aren't available in other parts of the world. For instance, maybe we have greater technology, and maybe Africa has blood diamonds or something. We got to get all this straightened out. We have to get on an even keel, because an hour of time in one part of the planet should be equal to an hour of time in another part of the planet. But because we have this exchange stabilization fund that has been intervening in the Forex markets, they've been rigging the markets to keep the dollar up. Okay. So this whole thing is simply a lot of air. But I'm not going to say this, but I'm going to say it. Okay. Let's suppose that I was going to tell you that the dollar would be dead by Friday of this week.
Right. You're not saying that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if I were to tell you that the dollar was going to be dead by Friday, what would you do? Would you take the dollar bills or digital proxies for it and get the real money while you can? Would you sit and wait to see whether or not I'm right? Let's suppose that I'm wrong. What's the harm? Is silver finite? Are type 1s finite? Are they hard to get? Is junk silver hard to get? You're going to find, folks, when this happens, it's going to happen like that. I'm telling you. And you're not going to be able to get any silver. It's going to be, as Andy Schekman has said, unobtainium.
Andy Schekman says exactly that. Like, it happened. There's a law. I forget what it is, but it happens very slowly. It's kind of like Jenga, right? That Jenga game where you pull.
It's called a crack-up boom is what you're talking about.
Well, no, it's not. That's not the term. I know what a crack-up, but no, he talks about, it's like Jenga, right? Like you pull a piece out, you pull a piece out. Everything's great. Everything's great until it's not, till it all crashes down. I want to circle back to what you were just saying. That if we knew that
logarithmic crash is what you're talking about. Yeah. Basically 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 4 is 16, 16 times 16. And before you know it, the crash is there. And we're actually on the horizontal. It's called a hockey stick is where we are right now in terms of money creation.
Right. So in debt creation. Well, debt creation.
Well, all the currency that is created is in fact debt. The only thing that's an asset is this.
Yeah.
Okay. And why is there a problem understanding this? The problem understanding this normalcy bias. It's exactly what it is. Okay. But this is money. It always has. Okay. It always has been, always will be after I'm dead and gone, and you and everybody else. This is still going to be around. Like I said, they're still pulling it off the floor of the Atlantic Ocean. Now it has barnacles on it and that kind of stuff, but it didn't have value. Why would they be forming companies to go out with big exploration ships and go down and pull it up? You know it has value. Why don't they put the dollar bills? That's sludge in the back of the safe, as we saw in the movie Titanic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let me. I want to finish what I was saying earlier, Ted, because you talked about the if we knew that on Friday, which we're not predicting, but if we did, that the dollar would be worth less or worthless, that people would rush out to get rid of their dollar. Whoa, wait, Ted. What if in 1971 right? Because we know that since 1971, the US dollar has lost 98% of its value relative to gold. What if someone had told you that in 1971, right? I mean, that hey, guess what? Congratulations, over the next 50 or so years, your US dollars are going to lose 98% of their value against gold. I mean, I think the answer is pretty evident, pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Go ahead.
What I'm going to say is, you were saying, suppose if, the value of the dollar goes down or whatever, I'm telling you, it's going to be down by Friday. You wanted me to tell you, and want to show you how. You go back to the U.S. debt clock. How can you have a constantly increasing debt? Okay. And how can you have a constantly increasing proxies against the money as represented by the currency and credit derivatives? Can we get that up again?
I'm getting it up. I think I somehow, hold on. Ooh, I don't want to do that. Go ahead. Keep talking, Ted. I'll pull it up.
So how in the world can the dollar even maintain its current purchasing power if by Friday they will have increased the debt and they will have increased the currency and credit derivatives against a shrinking pool of M2 money supply? Is the dollar going to become worth less, not worthless, but worth less by Friday? Incrementally, yes. Okay.
In real, I want to throw this in real terms, relative terms. By Friday, we could say, oh, the DXY index went from 103.5 to 1. That's relative. That's make-believe synthetic. That's comparing the dollar to the euro and the yen. That's like comparing the three best patients in a hospice ward. I mean, I hate to use that example. So, but in real terms, look up in the upper left-hand corner, guys, right there. That tells you, right? Look down here, look at all these debt levels going up, 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 and up. And that tells you that in real terms, the dollar will be losing value.
I would have a question. How much silver do you think the United States of America actually has? And if they have any, why isn't it listed on the United States Treasury balance sheet after 1965? Do you see this, folks? I mean, do we need to keep rehashing the same thing? Because there's other stuff we need to go over. I mean, all you guys have an estate, and you need an estate plan at some point in time. What I would like to do at some point in time, once we get past the monetary side of this, and we got you all set up properly, because that window will close, and you won't have any opportunity to get any more silver. When that happens, then it's time to start talking about estate planning. But until that time, I decided to bring everything forward. You have to get the silver, folks. Okay? It's what underpins everything else. The demand for silver is skyrocketing for solar panels, for electricity, for electronics, for money now. 7.8 billion people, do the math. They're going to each need 2.5 ounces or 2.5 units of silver per day in order to live. They got to be exchanged. See, no man's an island. We all have to rely on one another. And then you got economies of scale. I mean, maybe one guy is really good at making tires, okay? And you can make 1,000 of them a day. Another guy, he makes rims, and he makes 1,000 of them a day or whatever. If I'm going to make my own tire, I'm going to make my own rim, we're out of the ballpark. I don't have the economies of scale. So we all have to rely on one another in order to trade. But how do we trade honestly? If he needs to sell rims to buy food and I only have tires, how in the world is he going to get tires? How's he going to get food with tires? How's he get food with rims? So the purpose of money is to provide an even system of account so that you can buy and trade what it is you need when you need it. But if you're holding bars and rounds, which are not recognizable money in the country that you're in, you're going to have to go to a second party. You might have to go to a coin store or something, or take a lot less than what this would be worth. So if this is $3 more or $4 more, I don't know what it is, ask Pimbex. Again, I'm not here to sell metal or whatever. I'm here to educate.
Yeah, Ted. And at some point, I am interested in hearing from you. Not today, because we got to wrap this up. We've been live for an hour and 20 minutes. But I do want to hear from you. Like, I studied accounting at a top tier university. I worked for a big 4 accounting firm. I've got wills set up for my wife and I and my parents. But I don't really understand what a trust is. So I don't want to hear it now, but at some point we're going to do a show once everything kind of, calms down a little bit, where in simple everyday terms, you can explain to me like what a trust is. I do want to also mention, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you guys want to hear more Ted today, he's going to be on the Stacking Surfer at 4 o'clock Eastern. Is that correct, Ted?
I think it's 6 o'clock Eastern. And
6 o'clock Eastern.
Big
6
shout out to Jared. He's a hell of a guy.
Yeah.
And you know
There's
what?
one thing I don't like about that guy, though. I got to be honest. There's
go
one
ahead.
thing I really don't like about the Stacking Surfer. But if you guys want to go to the Stacking Surfer and get more Ted, he's going to be on there at 6 Eastern. But there's just one thing that really bugs me about this Stacking Surfer guy. Can I tell you what it is, Ted?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that I'm stuck in my basement doing this in the middle of the country, and he's out wherever in California, and he gets to surf and make videos about silver. So no, I really like
your
him.
Time is coming, Ron. I came here for a reason. God has blessed you.
Maybe
your subscribers are going to go up. Oh, by the way, folks,
I want to wait. I want to reiterate I kind of joked around, and I've never met him. I don't know him, but I like his content, and I know you speak highly of him. But
I like him.
I thought, how come this guy gets to be a surfer and I'm in the basement? Maybe I need to be on a sailboat someday. But no, Ted will be on the Stacking Surfer today at 6 o'clock.
You do need to be on a sailboat. We all need to be on a sailboat. Hey, I want to let you know we are planning a convention. A group of speakers of us are going to be getting together in Buckhead, Georgia, probably sometime in early June, and we're going to be looking for speakers. I would like to reach out to Keith Neumeyer. I think he has a hell of a company. I think he's a very, very smart guy. I like the integrated nature of what he's doing, and I don't think he's being properly represented in the media. And I think that we need to pay a little bit more attention to Keith. I think there's some real good beef on the bone there with this guy. I think he's very smart, and I think that he might have a couple aces up his sleeve in terms of information and that kind of thing.
Let me interject. I've met Keith Neumeyer digitally and done seminar one time with him. He's the chairman of First Mining Gold. And I agree with you. I call Keith like one of the members of royalty within the silver community.
Yeah.
Keith coined the term triple digit silver. And what he's doing now, which is very interesting, is with his company, First Majestic Silver, they actually started a mint in Nevada where he is minting different silver products, which he will make available directly to the retail investing community. So the silver that he's mining down in Mexico, and not all of it yet, right? But he's completely integrated the whole chain from digging it up out of the ground. And I think from what I've heard from him that, the intention obviously is, that they get as much of that silver that, processed through that mint as it grows and get it directly into the hands of investors. But yeah, Keith Neumeyer is loved in the silver community. He's been a big proponent and a big warrior for the silver cause.
He's a soft-spoken, pretty kind of guy. When he speaks, you gotta listen. Well, one last thing I want to share with you. What's happening now is that there are lots of 1,000-ounce bars out there, and they're having trouble moving them. So what's been happening is Golden Eagle Coin, what they tried to do is saw the 1,000-ounce bars in the slab, so to speak, but the saw wouldn't saw through the silver. You know why? It gummed up the blades, it gummed up the teeth of the saw. So then what happened, they said, well, okay, let's go and get a acetylene torch and see if we can cut the bars in half or whatever. They're heavy to move. Turns out, because of the particular properties of silver, and I thought this fascinating, tell me whether or not we're on the same wavelength here, that the acetylene torch would not cut the silver. You know why? Because silver is such a great dissipator of energy that it couldn't concentrate the energy long enough in one particular spot with an acetylene torch in order to cut the bar. So now what we have we've come up with ways to slice the bar with a hydraulic slicer, take the slices of the 1,000-ounce bar, lay it on a scale, weigh it, stamp the weight of the bar as well as the logo, and now you got one of the cheapest bars you could probably get. But the question would be, how negotiable is it? Here, we take this slab of silver for a pound of steak or whatever. No, you have to have the coin of the realm, folks. Yeah. So be smart with your money and be careful, be smart, be intelligent, and buy quality. Yeah. Buy quality. You never go wrong buying quality.
And listen to what Ted says. Listen to what Ron says. Listen to what Andy Scheckman says. Listen to what your mom and dad say. Listen to everybody and
Listen to
make
what
up.
the Bible says. Didn't God say,
Make,
silver and gold are mine, saith the Lord?
yeah, make up your mind for yourself, right? We can all, Ted can speak Ted's truth. I can tell you, what I tell you is my truth, but make up your own mind for yourself. Ted, I want to say thank you for joining us today. It's been another awesome live stream. We were over 1,000 people, which is a new
Live?
record. Yeah,
Live?
live for Ron's Basement. So I want to remind everybody, if you want to get more Ted today, you can go to the Stacking Surfer, who I like. I want to reiterate, I was just joking around. That one thing I don't like about him, that he gets to surf and I get to roll around on an office chair
We'll
in
have
my
you up in the
basement.
attic pretty soon, Ron. Don't worry about it.
But that'll be 6:00 Eastern time tonight. Ted, we'll plan on seeing you next Friday at our normal time, 10 a.m. Central.
Unless
I'm sure we'll
something
have.
comes up,
Yeah,
I'm going to give you a call and say we got to go live.
yeah. Sounds great.
Give you a
And there's
couple clues
links.
here, folks. Better pay attention.
There's
tell
links.
You the date, but
There's
giving
links.
clues.
There's links to all of Ted's information in the description. Ted, again, thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.